Let's break something open right from the beginning. You were taught to always be available, to smile even when you didn't feel like it, to answer when you really shouldn't, to explain yourself even when no one asked. You were shaped to be reachable, moldable, predictable. And the worst part is, you accepted it as if it were the norm. But tell me, what exactly has being so accessible brought you? Has it brought peace? Has it brought power? No. It has turned you into a puppet on emotional strings, reacting to every word, every glance, every sign. People read you, and once they notice you jump at every nudge, they push even more. Because yes, the world is full of button pushers. But here's the truth. They only succeed when those buttons are within reach. And that's where a concept very few actually grasp comes in, becoming unreachable. Not as a form of escape, but as an act of control, of deep self-mastery, of inner strength. This isn't about building emotional walls to block out feelings. It's about learning to stop reacting, because every reaction exposes you. Every time you explode, over-explain, or rush to justify your choices, you surrender your power. Silence isn't coldness, it's strategy. Mystery isn't indifference, it's magnetism. There are people who walk into a room and dominate it without speaking a single word, not because they yell, but because they've mastered not being an open book. They don't trade access to their soul for crumbs of attention. They don't scramble to explain or seek approval because they've understood something most haven't. The less you give, the more others crave. People are drawn to what they can't control, to what's hidden, elusive, untouchable. That's why the unreachable stir intrigue, because they don't bend. They know how to release, how to walk away. Letting go isn't losing, it's liberation. Release that relationship that stifles you, that job that drains you, that obligation that holds no meaning. Let go of the need to always understand, to always be right, to be validated, because the more you cling, the more you depend. And dependence is the enemy of power. You can't be unreachable if you constantly need approval, applause, or reassurance. Not explaining is also letting go. You don't need to justify your choices. You don't owe anyone an explanation to protect your peace. You don't have to convince anyone of your goodness. Because here's the truth. Those who judge you already have a story about you, and they're not looking for facts. They're looking for confirmation. Don't feed their narratives. Be quiet. Let time answer for you. In a world where everyone is shouting, the one who stays silent holds a power. In a world desperate to be seen, the one who becomes unseen becomes unforgettable. Presence isn't about being everywhere. It's about being impossible to ignore when you are. And you can only reach that when you stop reacting, when you stop dragging your emotions through every word, every look, every expectation. People mistake being unreachable for being cold. But it's not coldness, it's maturity. Those who react to everything are controlled by their surroundings. Those who choose when and how to respond, they govern their own lives. That's not isolation. That's sovereignty. Self-control isn't suppression. It's choice. It's choosing not to respond to nonsense. It's choosing not to waste energy on what doesn't deserve it. It's walking away before you become the villain in someone else's story. It's knowing that sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. And when you become unreachable, the world changes. Those who manipulated you are confused. Those who vented on you find no echo. Those who waited for you to beg are met with silence. And you, calm and quiet, keep moving. The peace that comes from no longer needing to respond, to explain, to prove, is indescribable. But to reach that peace, you have to go through detachment. You must stop needing to be accepted, to be loved, to be understood. Because as long as you're begging for affection, you're reachable. And reachable means vulnerable to their games. The answer lies in boundaries. Not the loud kind. Not the kind you announce or argue about. The kind you live. The kind you embody. The kind you respect first, so others respect them too. And yes, you'll lose a few people. But they weren't losses, they were liberations. Letting go also means refusing to carry what isn't yours. You can't rescue everyone. You can't be the constant support for those who refuse to change. You can't be the emotional landfill for those who dump on you. Guard your energy, it's not unlimited. And every time you shrink yourself to fit into places you've outgrown, you drain your power. Mystery, silence, calm. These aren't flaws. They're strengths of those who no longer need to shout to be heard, who no longer seek to impress but to be at peace. And that kind of peace, it's magnetic, it's desirable, but it can't be bought, faked, or stolen. It's built through painful decisions, built by walking away from what no longer belongs, built by choosing yourself over the rest. So the next time someone provokes you, remember, not reacting is an act of power. Not entering the game is a form of victory. Not explaining is protecting your energy. Silence is your weapon. Self-control, your shield. And when you become unreachable, not because you're hiding, but because you choose who gets in, the world begins to see you differently. Because those who don't sell themselves are valued more. Those who don't aim to please are respected. And those who control the conversation without saying a word, they win. That's the power of being unreachable, not disappearing, but appearing powerfully when you choose to, not avoiding feelings, but knowing what deserves to be felt, not indifference, but having priorities. And when you finally grasp that, you'll realize the power was always yours. You just had to stop giving it away. So tell me, will you keep reacting, letting the world define who you are? Or will you begin to choose what touches you, what defines you, what reaches you? Because that silent decision, that internal shift, changes everything. Becoming unreachable is an act of self-love. It's telling the world, you don't get access to me because you want to. You get it only if I allow it. And that permission, that's sacred. Protect it. And when someone crosses a line without an invitation, let them meet your silence, not out of hate, but because it no longer shakes you. That is the real victory. Unreachable, not out of ego, not out of coldness, but because you finally become the master of yourself. And that's priceless. And if you've come this far, it's because something inside you is already stirring. That quiet discomfort, that sense that something must change, that's not a curse. That's your awakening. Now let's talk about something more subtle, yet deeply tied to all of this. The energy you emit when you reclaim yourself. People perceive more than your words. They notice how you hold space, how you use time, the quiet confidence in your presence. There's a psychological truth here. Humans can sense, even unconsciously, when someone craves validation. And when that craving is there, it shows. Being unreachable means being mindful of how you relate emotionally. It means you're not always available, not out of pride, but out of respect. Not everyone needs to know your plans, your feelings, or your thoughts. Being selective isn't about closing off. It's about preservation. When you share too much with too many, your value diminishes. When everyone has access to you, you stop being rare. Setting emotional distance is an act of maturity. It means saying no with grace, taking time without guilt, being alone without fear. Because solitude is strength. Loneliness is dependence. Be clear about who earns your energy. Not all deserve the same access. Not all can handle your vulnerability. That's why protecting your inner world is vital. Not to push people out, but to care for yourself within. And remember, sometimes your silence will speak louder than any explanation. Not reacting how others expect. Not entering petty arguments. Not being dragged by emotion. That calm presence commands respect. Many times, people seek a reaction just to destabilize you. But if they don't find that reaction, they lose control. Self-control disarms. And here's something many avoid confronting. The character you built to be accepted might now be your prison. That version of you that pleases others, avoids conflict, seeks belonging. It may have once helped you. But if it no longer represents who you are, holding on to it only drags you further from your truth. Authenticity has a price, but living disconnected from your essence has a much higher cost. That silent emotional exhaustion is constant. Letting go of that persona and showing up as your true self isn't easy. Some people will leave, but they were never really connected to you, just to the mask you wore. And what remains after that? What stays is gold. People who see you without filters. Connections that are real. Peace that doesn't depend on applause. Inner coherence is felt. You can hear it in your voice. You can see it in your eyes. You can feel it in your presence. That's what gives you strength without needing to shout. The energy you save by not reacting, invest it in yourself, in growing, in building something that speaks without needing explanations. Because every time you choose not to get dragged into noise, you reinforce who you are. It's noticed. It's respected. So now that you understand it, now that you feel it, ask yourself, what are you willing to leave behind to become that solid, centered person who no longer needs to react to feel alive? Because being unreachable isn't about closing your heart. It's about opening your eyes. It's not withdrawing from the world. It's returning to yourself. That connection, that clarity, is worth more than any like, comment, or validation. And now that it's clear, becoming unreachable is a form of self-respect. Let's dive into something just as crucial, but rarely talked about. The difference between controlling yourself and repressing yourself. It's not about staying quiet out of fear. It's not about avoiding conflict out of cowardice. It's about conscious choice, knowing when to speak, and knowing when not to. Repression is fear. Self-control is clarity. Repression poisons from within. Self-control strengthens from within. That difference? It's everything. Think of it like this. The one who stays silent from fear accumulates resentment. The one who stays silent from wisdom accumulates power. And here we enter a new dimension, active patience. Do you know one of the most powerful traits of those who feel unreachable? They don't rush, not to defend, not to explain, not to react, because they know time is not the enemy. It's an ally if used wisely. Active patience isn't passivity. It's presence. It's calculated strength. The impulsive act quickly and regret it. The patient observe, wait, and act with precision. This difference? It separates those who react from those who lead. But patience is not easy. It takes trust in yourself, in your process. It means choosing silence when your ego screams to speak. It means being okay with uncertainty when all you want is a quick answer. That inner battle, that quiet war, is what builds your emotional strength. Now, let's talk about something just as real, your personal value. You decide what you're worth, not in theory, but in practice, in how you manage your time, your energy, your attention. If someone can get access to you without earning it, you're discounting your value. If someone's persistence gets your response, you're giving more than you're receiving. Personal value isn't declared. It's shown in your boundaries, in what you tolerate, in what you release, especially when it hurts. And now we go deeper. The difference between presence and availability. Presence is powerful. It's felt. It's remembered. It's silent influence. But availability? It's constant giving, constant presence, constant depletion. When you confuse being present with being available, you end up empty. Because the one who is always available stops being valued. And the one who is present with intention leaves impact. And many fear stepping back because they fear losing connection. But that fear enslaves. The fear of losing what you don't even need anymore makes you a prisoner of the past. And here comes another truth. Emotional dignity. Dignity is not pride. It's not coldness. It's not being indifferent. It's knowing what you deserve and refusing to settle for less. It's not chasing answers. It's not begging for closure. It's accepting that not everyone will understand you and being at peace with that. Because you don't need to be understood to have worth. You don't need to be decoded to be valid. You just need to be with people who feel your silence without needing to fill it. With people who don't turn your quiet into a problem. And those who can't read your silence, they're not meant to read the rest of you either. Now let's talk about something painful, but freeing. Conscious rejection. Saying no to what doesn't align, even when it looks shiny. Even when it comes at the perfect time. Even when you want it. Because real self-control is saying no to what you want, when you know you deserve better. This is the essence of being unreachable. Not about others not reaching you, but about you choosing who gets close, with peace as your filter, with clarity as your compass. Being unreachable means being invulnerable to what once wounded you, It means knowing that who stays or who leaves doesn't define you. It means choosing peace over noise, yourself over pleasing, growth over comfort. And when you finally get there, something changes, not just in you, but around you. You stop attracting what once drained you. You stop chasing from emptiness. You stop connecting from wounds. Because now, your energy doesn't beg. It stands. It grounds. It commands respect. And when that happens, you become free. And just when you think you've reached the deepest layer, a final one reveals itself. The tranquility of not needing to be understood. This is the highest level of self-control. Not only choosing your words, but embracing the silence of being misunderstood and not needing to correct it. You're not here to be a manual. You're here to be, to live, to radiate depth, to walk your truth. You've been through too much to keep explaining. You've grown too far to shrink again. This journey doesn't end with a final destination. It ends with a new rhythm, a new way of walking, where you're no longer pulled, no longer dragged, no longer sprinting to be seen, because those meant to see you will, even in silence. And if you're still struggling, still reacting more than you want to, don't judge yourself. This is a practice, a daily one. You fall, you rise, you keep going. Now, before you go, I have a question for you. Write this in the comments. My silence is not absence. It's dominion. I want to read it. I want to feel how many of us are ready to live from that place, that unshakable, calm power. And if this message resonated with you, if it reminded you of the version of you that no longer wants to react to the world, then subscribe. Because here, we talk about what's not said, what's deeply felt, what changes everything. And now I say goodbye, not with noise, not with drama, but with silence, a silence that you get to fill. With you, because this isn't the end of the video. It's the beginning of the version of you no one will ever be able to reach. I disappear.